Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati.
Hare Krishna. Welcome. I'm Labangala Tika and I will continue to read Bhagavad-gita with you here. Bhagavad-gita as it is, Prabhupada's edition, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada. We have entered the third chapter, Karma Yoga. And this is Krishna replying to Arjuna's question because Arjuna got a little bewildered. And karma is a little bewildering, action is a little bewildering. We have a whole chapter here to help us to get out of that bewilderment, to get a better understanding. Because Krishna consciousness, because religion is kind of our interface between culture and spirituality. So religion is determined, it's within a certain culture, whereas Krishna consciousness is the natural state of the soul when we are not when we are not in a cultural context, when we are not conditioned by our body, by the time we live in, by our background, when the soul comes to its eternal spiritual position. That is Krishna consciousness. But of course, we need to put this spiritual consciousness into activities in this world. And that can be a little difficult to understand because this world is not spiritual. At least it doesn't look very spiritual. So how to balance our understanding and our activities in the best way? Arjuna asked Krishna good questions, and now we will hear Krishna's answers. Text 3. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Lokismin Dvividha Nishtha Pura Prokta Mayanagha Jnana Yog Ena Sankhyanang Karma Yogena Yoginam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical philosophical speculation, and others by devotional service. Purport. In the second chapter, verse 39, the Lord explained two kinds of procedures, namely Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. In this verse, the Lord explains the same more clearly. Sankhya Yoga, or the analytical study of the nature of spirit and matter, is the subject matter for persons who are inclined to speculate and understand things by experimental knowledge and philosophy. The other class of men work in Krishna consciousness as it is explained in the 61st verse of the second chapter. The Lord has explained also in the 39th verse that by working by the principles of Buddhi Yoga or Krishna consciousness, one can be relieved from the bonds of action. And furthermore, there is no flaw in the process. The same principle is more clearly explained in the 61st verse, that this Buddhi Yoga is to depend entirely on the Supreme, or more specifically on Krishna. And in this way, all the senses can be brought under control very easily. Therefore, both the yogas are interdependent as religion and philosophy. Religion without philosophy is sentiment or sometimes fanaticism, while philosophy without religion is mental speculation. Yes, I am so incredibly happy to have access to the Bhagavad-gita and to Srila Prabhupada's commentary and explanation of the Bhagavad-gita. Because very long time ago, when I was young, I suddenly realized that I didn't know the meaning of life. And I had a very strong inclination to question everything, to find out if this was actually real and true and meaningful in a deeper sense. And I wasn't satisfied, and I was probably extremely annoying because I would be like that. What's the meaning of what you're doing? What's the meaning of your life? So that's kind of annoying. But that drive to find whatever is real and true is very healthy. It's part of being a human being, really. But if we don't get good answers, then we can easily get sidetracked into depression or, how to say, pride or fanaticism as was spoken about here. And that's not what we want to do. So these principles, Buddha Yoga or Sankhya Yoga, they both lead to the same goal, but they are slightly different. So here Prabhupada says they are connected as religion and philosophy. Religion without philosophy, sentiment, or sometimes fanaticism. And that is how we see religion depicted today. We either hear about those naive people who just accept some religion because somebody tells them to, or we hear about these scary terrorist people that somehow or another their religion. And those pictures, of course, they come from somewhere, but they are not the full picture. But what Prabhupada wants to do here is to combine the two, to combine the faith, to combine the inclination to follow God, and to follow this, how to say, the rituals that regulate our lives, and the philosophical inclination that uses the intelligence to get to the bottom of things and to understand the structure of the principles that govern the universe and life itself. If we combine those two, then we get something very substantial and very real and very satisfying. And Prabhupada is referring back here to some verses in the second chapter, so, if we don't remember them, we can go back and look at them. We don't just read something and leave it behind. We want to bring this whole understanding of the Bhagavad-gita with us. The ultimate goal is Krishna, because the philosophers who are also sincerely seeking after the absolute truth come in the end to Krishna consciousness. This is also stated in the Bhagavad-gita. The whole process is to understand the real position of the self in relation to the super-self. The indirect process is philosophical speculation, by which gradually one may come to the point of Krishna consciousness, and the other process is directly connecting everything with Krishna and Krishna consciousness. Of these two, the path of Krishna consciousness is better because it does not depend on purifying the senses by a philosophical process. Krishna consciousness is in itself the purifying process, and by the direct method of devotional service, it is simultaneously easy and sublime. So yes, Bhagavad-gita is not just a theory, it's not just a, an elaborate structure of words and concepts. It is, as I have once heard the definition of philosophy, it is a description of reality, but the spiritual reality. And it helps us understand what we are doing and why we are doing it. Whereas Bhakti Yoga means we surrender to Krishna, we render service to Krishna, we remember. The process of Bhakti Yoga has 9 processes. Yes. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Parasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. Shravanam, we begin by hearing, because if we don't hear about Krishna, we won't know anything. And at the same time, hearing Krishna's name and hearing the words about Krishna, they are in and of themselves purifying processes. Kirtanam means glorifying or speaking about or reciting Krishna's name, because when we've heard about him, naturally we want to speak about him also. When we hear Krishna's name, we also want to sing it. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu or Krishna. Vishnu is one, one aspect, one way to see Krishna also. Smaranam, Padasevanam. Smaranam means remembering. We hear about Krishna, we talk about Krishna, and we remember him. And each of these processes in and of itself is perfection. If we always hear about Krishna, or if we always speak about Krishna, or if we always remember Krishna, then it's the same. We're always connected to Krishna in that way. Padasevana means we become a humble servant. Yes, I'm not from India, but as I understand, the structure in society there is more, there is bigger differences between those who have an important position and those who have a humble position. And nobody wants to have a more humble position, but before God, before Krishna, we have these stories. The king comes before the altar and personally sweeps the floor. A king never sweeps the floor. He has people for that. But before God, he comes before Krishna with a broom. They give him a broom with a golden handle to befit his position, but he takes that service as a sweeper. So we can all come to Krishna and perform some simple service in the temple like that. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam. Archanam means the process of temple worship, where we worship the form of God in the temple. And some cultures, some religious cultures, they have a problem with that, because in their instructions they hear that they should never worship a form. But as far as I have understood, the actual context there says we should never make a form of something on the earth, in the water, in the sky, and worship that form. And that's true. We don't make a form of anything limited within this world. We make a form of Krishna, Vishnu, Narayan, Radha Krishna, Jagannath, so many different aspects of Krishna, according to the instructions of the Vedas. We don't decide that we would like God to look like this. No, we hear about him. He looks like that. So we make a form specified. It has to be made out of the pure material, metal, stone, or wood. There are a few other descriptions how to do it. And then we ask Krishna, please accept this form. And he can do that. Because to us, matter and spirit is very different. To Krishna, they are both his energy. So if he accepts the call from his devotees to come and be present, he can certainly be present. And then we can worship Krishna in a more personal, direct way, because before we have a full realization, Krishna is there in every atom. Krishna is there in his name. Krishna is there. He's everywhere, but we don't see him because our vision is covered. But when we have this Archa Vigraha, this form of Krishna, then we can serve him in a very personal way. We can wake him up in the morning. We can offer him something to eat. We can cook something for him. We can dress him and decorate him with beautiful clothes and ornaments. And what happens is, when they are on Krishna, those clothes and ornaments, they become more beautiful. And we put him to rest at night, and we sing songs for him. We bring him flowers. Everything, if you love someone, that's the things you will do. And in this way, we strengthen our bond to him, and we can feel more connected in our service. So that's Archa worship, Archanam. Vandanam Dasyam. Vandanam means offering prayers. And prayers are offered. A prayer is not a request. Sometimes we think you pray to God because you want things. Of course, if we want things, it's better to turn to God than to turn to any other source, because ultimately everything comes from God. But a prayer in the Vedic sense means we glorify Krishna, we recite his qualities, we speak about something that we know, we express our gratitude that, our whole life, everything actually comes from Krishna. And then we can also bring a request in. That's all right. But basically that's not the focus of the prayer. Prayer is a glorification of God. Dasyam means becoming the servant. Shravanam Vishnu. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Parasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmanivedanam. Dasyam means becoming a servant in the sense of becoming the order carrier, of representing God, like our Srila Prabhupada came to the West and established Krishna consciousness on all the other continents where it had not previously existed. That is a perfect example, actually, of that type of service. Dasyam, Sakyam means becoming the friend of Krishna. Now we are on a very advanced level. This is not, everybody, we can hear Krishna's name when the devotees come by and singing. We can do some humble service and we can assist in the deity worship. We cannot really claim to have a friendly relationship with Krishna until we come to that platform. And Atma Nivedana means surrendering everything, surrendering our very self, our very soul, heart and soul, body and mind, everything to Krishna. And that's what we aim for, but maybe we are not there yet. So those are the processes of a devotional service. And Prabhupada is saying here that when we are performing those processes, we don't need to do an extra process for purification. Because we hear that when we read the Vedic scriptures, that yes, when you hear this or when you do that, that will free you from so much karma, that will elevate you, that will... But when you perform Krishna consciousness, you don't need to add an extra process, because the process of Krishna consciousness includes all the other processes. So we can give our full focus to a process that Prabhupada says it's simultaneously easy and sublime. Sometimes it's hard because we are not there, because we have mental barriers, or we have, misconceptions and some steps to overcome in our journey. But luckily, the process in and of itself does not add to these difficulties. Singing God's name in the company of other devotees, studying Bhagavad-gita, speaking about it, or setting up the structure for learning and studying, worshipping and temple communities, and going out with the singing of God's name, the hearing of the Bhagavad-gita's philosophy, and the distribution of Krishna prasadam, nice vegetarian food offered to Krishna. Those processes are not difficult if you compare it to the other yoga methods from the other ages. So this is something we can do, and especially we start by hearing from Krishna in the Bhagavad-gita in the company of devotees, and we can get a very firm, strong foundation, so that, it's a lot easier to do something that you understand. So we hear from Krishna and we get the best understanding possible, and we will go on like this, hearing the Bhagavad-gita and serving Krishna for the rest of our lives. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalang